Hey Thunderbird fans, I apologize. The bench is getting a little messy here with all that's going on, but the most important thing is that I have Vermont Beer Maker's Scarlet Red Ale right now, helping me to think through some issues. This episode is all about: do you pursue historical accuracy and historical museum quality perfection with your restoration, or do you pursue drivability and usability of a car? There's two very distinct paths you can take, and that's what we're going to focus on today as I make a more of a cerebral decision as to what I'm going to do with this thing, especially as it relates to vacuum advanced distributor and other issues going forward. So welcome to Ale Makes Decisions Better.
Thunderbird Garage, where the classics come alive. 57 Magic Man, it's more than just a drive. Thunderbird Garage, let the good times thrive. Ooh.
Hey Thunderbird fans, wanted to give you an update on some of the vacuum advanced stuff and the distributor stuff that I've been dealing with lately. And also kind of a mental shift I'm making, which I think is positive, but it's taken me a little bit to get there. And I'll give you some of the backstory. But in any event, as you remember, the distributor vacuum advance was not doing what I wanted it to do. And then I took it off. I did a bench test and it wasn't holding vacuum. That's the old one here. And then I looked far and wide for one and couldn't really find it, so I bought another one that was a modern one that didn't fit from standard. That was one, it did hold a vacuum, which is great. And then I found another one that had been rebuilt externally for the Thunderbird. So this is an original 57 Thunderbird vacuum advance with the correct straight shaft that was rebuilt. And it won't hold a vacuum either. And so it's frustrating me. After three, and I got to go through more, I just don't want to deal with that hassle. Why? I want a car that I can just jump in and drive. Granted, yes, it is a 1957, so there's some other circumstances, but I'd like to upgrade systems so that it wasn't as finicky, perhaps, as it might be if it's a museum piece. And I think that's the mental shift I've come to. A lot of folks, and I have to admit, I was totally enamored with that 57, that F code that I took a ride in. Everything was perfect on that car. I loved it. Everything from the stampings to the hoses, everything looked like it had just left the factory. And that did some bad things to my mind. And I was like, I want that, but I also don't want that. And I think now where I've come to is, that's beautiful for a museum piece. It doesn't get driven. I will put 5,000, 7,000 miles on my car, and I want to be able to jump in and drive it 200 miles to Cape Cod or up to Maine or wherever, and just not have to worry about anything, about overheating or running right. So yes, I know that's a big order to place on classic cars, but that's where I am now. So I'm willing to say I'm going to upgrade some things that I might not have in the past. So anyway, but just so you're aware, the bench test that I did, one of the things that really kind of challenges me with the original Thunderbird is this is the vacuum line that went to the carburetor. There was actually another in the original carburetor, another connection here, but you've got a very complex set of springs and washers inside here. Then you've got this brass piece, or I guess it's an aluminum piece with another brass piece that fits in here. There's a potential for leak there. There's another potential at the brass fitting here, as well as this expansion fitting here that goes into the brass piece. So, and then over at the carburetor and elsewhere. So you suddenly have multiple points of failure that really kind of bum me out. And I've talked to a couple of folks and they were like, Curt, just torque the heck out of these things and just get them really tight. Well, okay. I actually put thread seal on all of these just so I wouldn't have a vacuum leak issue, and I still do. So this does not feel reliable, not at least for my purposes, to be able to get in a classic car, enjoy it, and go with my wife and not have it break down when we're having lunch someplace, or just not perform right. So that's kind of the mental state that I'm in, or that I got to. And that's led me to this here. So excuse me, instead of just upgrading the vacuum advance, repairing the distributor, and granted, I've spent way too much money on parts, but I had some friends at CRT Performance there in Massachusetts get me this. This is a modern tack drive for the Thunderbird distributor that has not only a vacuum advance that works, it's also got a mechanical advance as well inside there as well. And you folks, I'm sure, know that mechanical advances actually advances spark based on RPMs versus the vacuum from the engine. So this has both systems. So it can be good around town, and then if you're really kind of gunning it on the highway and you're at higher RPMs, the mechanical advance kicks in then. So, and it does have the original tack drive for the tachometer on the dashboard. It's also got a lead if I ever wanted to connect it to a modern kind of electronic tachometer. I could do that as well. But so this is going to go in to the car. But as you all know, making sure this lines up properly requires a little bit of work. My son talked me off of some ledges as I was thinking of some cheat codes of throwing this thing in there. And so getting the car to top dead center and finding that out is something that I'm going to be doing with you folks in a second here, but also bringing in a little bit more modern technology. Some of you have seen online where people go, well, put your finger over the cylinder or the spark plug hole number one, and then turn over the engine or rotate the engine. And when you feel pressure, then you know that cylinder one is at its maximum apex and is pushing against or pushing the air against your hand. Well, that's cool. I get it. Most of those folks, though, I've seen a number of demos on YouTube, but the engine's always on a bench. And it's kind of tough to get to sometimes when you have all the belts, and I have the electric fans and the air conditioning and other stuff in the car. So it's kind of tough to get in there. And it's certainly not like working on a bench where someone's rotating the crank and someone's got their finger and it's like, oh my goodness, how easy was that? Well, it's not so much in real life. But I'm also going to bring in a scope. I bought a cool little scope on Amazon for like 30 bucks a couple of years ago to work on a Jaguar XJS that I had. And so I'm going to use that and go into the cylinder and then rotate with some tools. I just hit Harbor Freight. It's this man's superstore. I love that place. And $300 later, they allowed me to walk out of the front door, but I got some new tools to be able to rotate the crank. And then I will also show you on my Mac how I connected the camera and saw where top dead center was.